Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Council Member Jenny Geisler. Today we're talking about both the September 3rd and our September 17th council meetings. Thanks for coming in today.
Yes, great to be here.
Yeah, still feels a lot like summer as we're sort of transitioning into fall here,
I know.
right?
It's crazy. It's really warm, but then there's the leaves on the ground right now starting to blow in the streets.
Yeah, so for folks that like summer, I guess they better be enjoying this because this is probably one of the last the warm weeks we'll have here. Well, something pretty cool happened recently. We're going to start off talking about that first. People may have noticed now when they drive by, the bowl has been lifted on the new water tower.
Right, yeah. So we were hearing all about this, about how it was going to be happening and that it could take, all day. Well, I think it just took part of a morning. It went very smoothly. So now as you're driving through the city, you can start to see the full silhouette of the water tower. And, once it gets painted and you'll see the Coon Rapids logo on it, it'll be a great visual across our city.
Yeah, that's sort of the next process. They got the bowl, they're finishing getting that secured in place, and then the painting will begin on the bowl. That is something that's a little bit different too. This is our first composite water tower,
correct,
which means they won't be painting the whole thing.
Right. Right, and the other thing, once this water tower comes online next year, that will enable us to dismantle the water tower that's on Foley Boulevard and Northdale. And more than anything, it's helping us, build for the future, making sure that we have enough water pressure, enough water to serve the city, and effectively use the space in the water towers that we have.
All right. Well, if you missed it, we did a pretty cool time-lapse video online, so check that out in a story. It's cool to see it sped up because you see it wobbling its way up the tower as they get it in place. So,
nice.
So yes, very cool to see. And if you don't know, that's over basically by Foley Boulevard and Coon Rapids Boulevard. Pretty clear there, but you can see it in a lot of directions, obviously from 610 if you're driving by. If
you're coming down Coon Rapids Boulevard towards the east, there's a lot of great places. You can just see it down the road. It's great.
All right. Well, let's move into business now. We're going to start off talking about our September 17th meeting here. Council adopted an ordinance amending city code. This relates to waste collection and recycling. This is, I feel like, been an ongoing topic here for the last couple of years.
It has been. And we did an awful lot of surveys and talked to residents over the last year. And, this is kind of an intermediate step to thinking about organized hauling. So what we've done with this ordinance, and then there's a second ordinance that we adopted that adjusts our soliciting practices in the city, is that, we have 5 haulers that are licensed today. We are going to limit to 3, but grandfather the 2 in the up to the 5, but then we're going to be setting standards for performance. You need to be making sure that you're servicing your clients. We don't want to continue to have reports of residents where nobody picked up my trash, nobody picked up my recycling, they've missed this. And so we've set up a process, and we did that in conjunction with the haulers, and most of these standards were set by them, or suggested by them. To be able to say, this is what it means to be a good hauler in our city. And, and that's really one of our big goals, is to make sure that we've got quality services. And so any hauler that's going to be here will meet these criteria. If they don't, there's going to be penalties and a process for them to be removed as a licensed hauler. Because, again, it's about making sure that we've got the good service down the road. And if we end up with a couple of haulers that do leave at that 3, we probably would need at least 3 if we ever went to organized hauling anyway, because our city is so big and being able to handle things. So we're kind of straddling the line a little bit, but it's getting to make sure that people have choice, but we're ensuring that they're good choices.
Okay. And the organized hauling, that is not happening at this point, but there is another way they're trying to, for folks that actually are interested in that, there's this organize your neighborhood, correct?
Exactly. So if you're on a cul-de-sac or maybe a loop street, if you're concerned about how many trucks are there, and that is a concern, organize your neighbors to be able to say, let's all go with the same waste hauler, and you, by doing that, you'll eliminate those other trucks on your street. So there's ways that you can do that in pockets.
Yeah.
And so there is material that you can contact the city with, and they'll help you organize that and organize your neighbors to be able to do that.
All right. I believe there's a kit or something online. If you just go to the city's website,
Correct.
you can learn more about that process and implement that in your neighborhood if folks are interested.
Exactly.
All right. Moving forward, Council considered a change order for purchase of community development and business licensing software.
Yeah. So Logis, which is the statewide IT system, they've notified us that the software that we're using for this today is going end of life and wouldn't be supported.
Okay.
So we needed to make a different decision of where we were going to go. And last year we chose BS&A for financial software, and they have a module that we can add on to that software which will do the community development work as well as the licensing.
Okay.
And it's going to be more, I think, community friendly, because there's things that you're going to be able to do now online versus having to come into City Hall to be able to, with a license and a permit and those different kinds of things. So we see that it's moving forward and making it more customer friendly. And with the implementation costs and the ongoing, it's actually going to save us money. And it's going to save our staff time, because the systems are on the same platform, which means that they're integrated and talk together, so we don't have to do something in one system and move over to another system. It will just be integrated. And so that will save staff time, and so it's a win-win all the way around.
Yes, kind of catching up with the times and getting more online. Like you said, it helps the user. It's nice to be able to sit at home and do these tasks right from your computer.
Exactly. And more of us, there's so many more things that we do online, and it just adds one more thing to make it easier for people in the busy lives that we all have.
Well, yes, paying bills, that you could just do that all online.
Exactly.
I got my mom into that. She was so I'd always be like, "Where are you?" The post office, and it would be like, "Why are you at the Then you save stamps and all of that,
Exactly.
It's nice doing the online stuff. All right, moving forward here, Council considered a resolution amending the 2024 budget and authorized an interfund loan for boulevard tree removal. This has kind of been a big topic in the last couple of years and a big expense.
Right, and so every year, through part of our tax levy, there's a levy, and we fund our tree programs. And what we're finding is with the emerald ash borer that we got lucky a few years when it was cold and more dormant, and now the warmer winters. And if you drive around the city, you will see an awful lot of trees that are impacted by this. And so as a council, we decided we need to, move forward, right? And, how do we find the funds to be able to do that? And we've got some funds that we, kind of have within different buckets in our budget, and one of that is the facility construction fund. So we're going to loan money to ourselves out of that fund and put it into the emerald ash borer, the tree fund, and so we're going to accelerate the removal of damaged trees and diseased trees, that things that have been marked. It's going to be prioritized by neighborhood. So if there's a really bad neighborhood, we're going to work to get those out of those neighborhoods, first. So you'll see an accelerated removal of trees, now that we've approved the funding, a couple of days ago. So, that will start coming up, and they'll be able to do that through some of the winter season. They can still take out the trees. It won't be replanting at this point, but we did this interfund for this year. We've got a plan for it, for what we're going to do in the 2025 budget. And then forward, to be able to ensure that we're funding it adequately to try and get ahead and get these diseased trees down. And then we'll start working on the replanting.
Yeah, because I understand there's still thousands of boulevard trees left. I can't remember the exact figure that he said, but several thousand.
Several thousand,
And it's going to take till about 2027, I think. They hope to have them all taken down. And then there would need to be the replanting in the future.
Yes.
Because that costs money as well.
Exactly. And so it's a process, and yes, it's taking down trees, and we'd love to get those replanted right away, but it's funding and how fast can we do it, and getting the diseased trees out is got to be the priority.
All right. If anyone's watching that actually has one of these that's a boulevard tree in their yard, you can go online, fill out a report it, I believe. There's a specific category now because they're inundated with calls and a lot of stuff. So report it there. They'll put you on the list, and as soon as they're able to look at it, they will.
Yeah, so there's two ways to do there's report it, which is the online form that you can fill out. And they did update, which I thought was the call tree.
Oh, yeah.
Even though that's a technical term, you can call in and you can push the buttons to say, yes, I want to report a diseased tree. And that you can just leave the information on a voicemail, which will then create that ticket for you and make sure that your tree is on the list.
That's great. They're getting a lot of those, I know. And our city forester, Tommy Shabilla, is great, but he's a kind of a one-man band, so there's a lot to do.
And we're lucky to have him. You know, a lot of cities don't have foresters and have that ability to ensure that we've got healthy trees within our city and that we're maintaining them in the right way. And, you know, one of the other things that Councilmember Griskoviak mentioned, he's got, you know, an ash tree in his yard, and there are treatments that you can do, and he, you know, is paid to keep his tree alive. And so if you're interested, there are things that you can do to protect your tree if you still have an ash tree that is living that you want to maintain. So, you know, certainly, you know, you can Google all of those things or potentially reach out to the city to ask, you know, how can you do that for your own tree?
Because with this removal process, we're talking specifically about ones that are boulevards that are the city responsibility, but I'm imagining folks have these trees in their yards too that are going to have to be taken care of at some point.
Yes.
So, all right. Then we talked about the introduction of the ordinance prohibiting practices for solicitors. So that will come to you guys at your October 1st meeting for formal approval.
Correct.
All right, let's move back to our first meeting of the month, which took place right after Labor Day, Tuesday, September 3rd. We had a few items there that we wanted to talk about. With the first there being council considered a site plan. This is for Family Promise of Anoka County off of Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Right. This is a property. They've already moved in their offices. If you're familiar, it's Coon Rapids Boulevard, about 610, the old Rock Solid property. And what they're going to be putting in here is housing for people who are transitioning from homelessness. And so we made one minor tweak to the site plan. When we were looking at it, they had a berm with some plantings, and we weren't quite sure if that was going to screen the neighborhood to the headlights being in that parking space, so we asked for a fence instead of the berm and hedge. But so minor revision, but that site plan was approved, and they should be able to start to pull permits. Okay,
and it was 8 units, if I recall correctly, as far as the number of units. And from what I understand with the folks, and we've done stories and talked to them about this, it's the transition period. So usually they transition within about 90 days is about the average stay where they're kind of getting their job, getting all that figured out, and then moving into their permanent housing.
Correct.
So this is kind of the path that they help them figure some of that out.
And it's a great service that they provide to the community. So.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward, Council adopted a resolution ordering preparation of a feasibility report and plans for, we're already talking about street reconstruction for 2025.
Correct. Yeah. And this is the normal thing that we do every year. This year it's 3.9 miles of streets within the city. I have my notes because I can remember them. Oaks of Shenandoah area, north of 131st between Coon Creek and Shenandoah. The Thousand Oaks neighborhood between west of Olive and south of Main, and then various Thrush Park neighborhoods. Anybody who is in those areas that is affected, you will have already received letters to notify you that this work was going to happen. And as you know, obviously it's not 2025 yet. It will happen next year. Usually they start in the May timeframe. You'll start to get a lot more communications. Anything, if there's ever, you know, we need to, you know, take out part of your, you know, the curb or the apron of your driveway, you know, they'll let you know. If there's any water shutoffs, they will let you know. All of that will be part of the communications. And so stay tuned, but notice if you've got a letter now that you're going to be part of that area, you want to stay aware. You know, there are ways to follow that information, you know, you can subscribe to our construction newsletter, and always make sure that you have the right updates for your area.
All right, and they also have informational meetings, I know, coming up just for people to ask questions. So lots going on there, but again, that won't happen until next May, and there's a couple other approvals along the way.
Correct.
Including for the assessments, because anyone that benefits from the property or benefits from the street reconstruction is assessed.
Correct.
Correct. So.
And when we do those assessments, it's a small portion of the total project cost. And compared to our neighboring cities, our assessments are significantly less.
Right.
And how we do those. And all of that detail will be coming out as those assessments are put together.
All right. Moving forward, Council adopted a resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering the advertisement for bids. This is for our 2024 lift station rehabilitation project.
Yep. Lift stations, those are part of our public works, water and sewer infrastructure. And again, I love our public works team. They are so good at making sure that are we making our infrastructure safe? Are we making sure that it is good, and making sure that the maintenance is there, because we don't want to have a failure.
Right.
And so this is an annual kind of thing that we do, and it's a good checkup, and making sure that we've got all of those things that we need to provide those water and sewer services are ready to go.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's all going good, because you don't really think about it when you have all this stuff flowing, but when something breaks,
right,
that's when you notice it might be missing or it has an issue.
Exactly. You just want it to be there.
Yep. All right, Council adopted 2 resolutions. One approves, or I'm looking at the previous item. Let's go to the other one. Adopted 1 resolution. This was establishing 2024-2025 Coon Rapids Ice Center rental rates and approved the fee structure, as well as approved Ice Center user contracts for 2024-2025. This is something we do every year.
It is. And we've got great partners, whether it's the Blue Ox using the facility, our, youth programs, the high school, a number of different groups. And so we have annual contracts with them about what's the ice time, what are the rates. And, we always do that rate study where we look at what are we charging for hours, skate rentals, all of those good things. And we align it to the market. What are our neighbors charging? What are things costing us? Because we all know that there's been some inflation and things cost more. And so we annually look at that to ensure that what we're doing can be more self-funding and actually get the revenue for what is the value.
All right. One other thing we do annually as well, Council adopted a resolution establishing the preliminary tax levy for 2025.
Yeah, this is a big one, right? And our staff, is probably starting to work on 2026 budgets already because it takes so long. But our staff does a great job, and then about the May timeframe, we start to hear about requests from the council, and we have some workshops of what are the things that we want to see in the budget, what are the things that we're going to have to put in the budget, and the majority of our general fund is people. We need to fund our firefighters, we need to fund our police, we need to fund our public works, we need to fund our city staff. And so we're always looking at ways, how can we do things better? How can we do things more efficiently? Where can we save dollars? The financial software is an example. How can we, do things better? And with that, because when we negotiate the contracts with our labor unions and whatnot, there are cost of living adjustments. There's rate position to align with what the market is. And so right now we're at a 7.85% increase for that tax levy. So that's what we've set. We cannot go above that. But between now and December, when it's formally adopted, if there's things that we can find and do, we could potentially go lower. But that is what it would be. And we have to set that and do our preliminary. So that means the county can collect all of the information from the county, from all the different cities, the school district, all the different taxing authorities, and to be able to send out those truth and taxation notices. I think they come out in November.
Yeah, it's usually before Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
kind of
right in
mid-November to
and
Thanksgiving.
then come December, we will have that final meeting and take a look at what are we going to set in stone for what would be the property tax levy.
Yeah, and that's where the public hearing will be. If anybody's interested to comment on the budget, that's their chance to do so. Of course, they can always call, council staff at any time before to voice those.
Yeah, and what's hard is a lot of people will be like, well, you raise the value of my home, and it's like, what's hard, the value of your home is something that you need to talk about back in April when those values get set. And if you don't think that value was right, in April was the time.
Yes.
Or next April would be the time.
Yeah.
And then there's certain things that are out of our control. There is a state formula for how the taxes get levied based on commercial properties versus residential properties and all of that. So that formula is what gets applied to determine, well, it's a 7.85% increase. Some people may see more, some people may see less, based on the type of property they have and how their property value changed related to all the other properties in the city. So it gets kind of complicated.
Yeah.
But in general, it'll be about 7.85%.
All right. Again, notices will come out in November from the county. That'll give you kind of more information of where things sit. In the meantime, if you're really interested in the budget, there is a budget and brief you can read online. That's just like 4 pages. Otherwise, you can delve into the whole thing and
several hundred pages. Get into the nitty gritty. We talk about all of the different things, what we accomplished last year, what we're planning to accomplish with each different fund for the year.
Yeah, good times. All right, that is all we had on that council meeting we wanted to talk about. Hey, did you know it's an election year?
It is an election year, and early voting starts tomorrow. Friday, what is the Friday?
The 20th, I believe. We're on September 20th.
September 20th. Yep. So that is absentee voting. Yep. So you fill it out. You can come to City Hall and fill it out. It'll be like an absentee ballot. Yep. A few years ago, Minnesota said you didn't have to have a reason to be an absentee balloter. So you can come into City Hall. If you haven't registered or need to check your registration, you can do that at City Hall now. The hours that you can do that are on the website. I think right now it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or 8 to 4:30.
Business hours,
And then, as we get closer to the election, they will have expanded hours. There'll be some Saturday or weekend hours to be able to do that. But we've got 4 city races on the ballot. So 3 Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 4, and our at-large will be on the ballot, along with all of the county, state, and federal races.
All right, so you got time. It seems it's about 45 days until election, because that's when absentee usually starts. And then, of course, if you don't want to vote absentee, you can do so on Election Day, November 5th, at the polls from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can cast your ballot right there.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we had another exciting thing. We talked about the water tower earlier, but we had finally had the ribbon cutting for our new Fire Station 3.
Fire Station 3. Yes, that was on the 10th. Last week, Tuesday. And it was it wasn't really a ribbon. We uncoupled the hose. So between the couple of fire trucks, and it was a great event attended by a lot of folks. And then there was, water and cookies, and people could take some tours. But if you missed that, there is a Fire Station open house on October 12th. At Fire Station 3, which is the new fire station on Mississippi Boulevard, across from the community college. Go and check it out. It's a beautiful building. It has a lot of amenities to help our firefighters to be healthy. Making sure that they can get rid of carcinogens after a fire before they go back into their living quarters. Making sure that they have quiet time because firefighters are on call for 24 hours. And so they need to be able to get sleep when they can get sleep. And so there's a lot of things focused there, and a lot of training opportunities and a training information that's there, because fires are few and far between, but you've got to practice. You've got to learn how to do those things. And so that's in that facility as well.
All right. So check it out. That's the annual Fire Department Open House, which used to be at all 3 stations. For a while, it's been at Sand Creek Park, but now it's going to be at the brand new station this year.
Yeah.
On that date. That's just one of the things coming up. There's other things. I don't know if people can see this, the newsletter,
The
right?
newsletter, yeah.
This just came out
Yes.
about a week ago, I believe. It arrived in mailboxes, so hopefully you've seen this.
And it is, our staff does a phenomenal job. It is the best thing. You should read it cover to cover. It tells you everything that you need to know
Yes.
about what's going on in the city and where.
Yep.
You know, like just in 2 days, the pet fair
Yeah.
on September 21st. And Rocky's Pumpkin Patch is going to be on Saturday, October 19th. So
That's growing into a huge event. Thousands of people at Sand Creek Park.
At Sand Creek. And so, you know, even though that's a couple of weeks away from our taping here, get prepared, get ready, plan on it. Get those costumes for the kids and bring them out there. And it's been a wonderful time.
You could pick their own pumpkin. It's a free event. So yes, lots more stuff. Obviously, more coming up in November, December. The annual different skating events at the Ice Center. There'll be a Season of Giving kickoff as well. So make sure you read that. You can also, there's a digital version on the city's website if you want to see it there as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, you were talking about elections, and your seat is actually up for election.
My seat is, but I am.
You are not running.
I am not running. I am finishing year 10 as a council member. I spent 16 years on Planning Commission prior to that, and I think 4 years on Economic Development before that. And it's time. It's time to give other people another chance, you know, bring in more youth, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I have thoroughly enjoyed, you know, my service to the community and helping our residents. And I look forward to potentially joining a commission or doing some other things in the community with the time. And I still will be around and active, but you won't see me on the council. And this will be my last council comment opportunity.
We had to bring you in.
10 years, yes.
Yeah. So it's been great having you here, and we appreciate you always joining us and telling us what's going on. Is there anything you're particularly most proud of about your time here on council, and anything you guys you wished you could have accomplished? Yeah.
I think that whenever I talk about the council, one of the things that I worked on with staff from day one was really working to shift how we saw our residents and shifting to more of a customer service perspective from a lot of the things that we did. And that was things that there were buds starting out everywhere. But when you start to look at, you know, how we're doing our citations, it's not just you're bad. It's how can we help you?
Right.
It's not, you know, here's the rule. It's like, can we help you make sure that you know? And it's about making sure that we have good dialogue with our residents, making sure that we're a partner, because we can't just be punitive, and we can't, you know, and so it's looking at shifting that mentality through everything that we do in the city has been a focus of mine for the 10 years. And I think you can see in how just even the language that you see in some of the newsletters and the different kinds of things, we've reinforced and encouraged our staff, who was probably going to do a lot of that anyway. But it's just a culture in the city that is about service, and I love that.
All right. Well, we appreciate you again being here today. You can't go anywhere yet. You still got about 6 meetings left.
Oh, yeah.
Plus a work session or two,
we
probably.
counted the other day. I've got 9.
9? Okay, with work sessions. All right. Well, again, thank you for coming in today and talking to us, and thank you for your service. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in October, right?
Correct.
All right.